I'm Theo.
And I'm Juliet.
And this is Apologies Accepted.
We offer an entertaining look at some of the big issues in history by examining public apologies of the famous and infamous.
We're looking at politicians, serial killers, actors, and you.
Send us a public apology you would like to make, and we'll read it on the air and give you a chance to redeem yourself or just get some guilt off your shoulders.
We're here for you. Once a week, maybe more if you're really, really sorry. Hey, everybody.
Hi, everybody. This is Apologies Accepted,
The podcast.
And I'm not Theo.
And I am not Juliet. And we are, sounds like we're not in sync, but we actually are. We're both live, and here we are. Pause, pause.
Yeah, exactly. So long pauses, which Bren will fix. So let's see. What are we going to talk about today? No, wait. First, we have to know what's shaking bacon.
I wish I could tell you, but if I did, you would die of envy.
You'd have to kill us.
Well, I'd have to kill you, but then you would die of envy. So I will say, every week, it's like nothing. We're going to go out to Palm Springs this coming week. James has a friend who is having a vacation in California. He's going on vacation to California. And so kind of last minute, he was like, hey, why don't we try and all get together? And so we are, and very much looking forward to it. We're going to fly. And have you ever flown instead of drive?
There's no airport there. I'd have to fly to Phoenix and then drive an hour and a half.
Okay. But I mean, then it's an hour and a half versus 12.
Yeah, no, I have done that, yes.
Oh, does it weird you out?
It kind of does.
Yeah.
It's such a short flight, and then I'm there. Boom.
It's like you're supposed to fall asleep behind the wheel of a car for a few moments, and then scare yourself awake, and then pull over, and why am I driving? Why? And then you have 12 more hours in front of you. Like, that's how you get to Palm Springs. Not sit on a plane, watch a movie, get off in Palm Springs. It doesn't happen.
Get there.
Yeah. So it always weirds me out. It's such a fucking miracle. And so, yeah, that's leading me straight to plane crashes now, which, no, thank you.
No.
I know. It's like everything I can think of is just going to end in a bad place. And this is our happy show, right? Because we did a sad show last week. And so this is our okay, this is a fun show.
I don't know that I'd call it happy, but it's a little bit lighter.
It's totally. Oh, you just wait. I've got some great material lined up for you.
Oh, okay, good.
For your entertainment. Yeah, but so that's what we're doing this coming week, and I got nothing else. I'm struggling to what else can I talk about? Anything, really, but I got nothing. What about you? What's shaking bacon?
I've got less than nothing. I've got minus things happening in my life, so I don't know what that would look like in reality. It would look like people coming and making me not do things, I guess. But I just don't have anything to talk about. So let's talk about our topic. Yay.
Yeah.
Today, we're heading back into the world of science fiction and artificial intelligence. We talked about, in late May, we talked about AI making up some book titles and book summaries. And now we're talking about the recent apology issued by the organizers of the 2025 Seattle World Science Fiction Convention, better known as WorldCon. Seattle WorldCon 2025 organizers are under fire after revealing they used ChatGPT to help vet over 1,300 panelist applicants. The AI tool was given only names and asked to surface red flags such as harassment or misconduct committed by those names. Organizers emphasized that all AI results were manually reviewed and no one was rejected solely based on AI output. However, the announcement sparked immediate backlash from the science fiction and fantasy community, which criticized the practice as unethical, opaque, and disrespectful to creators whose work may have been used to train AI systems without consent. Concerns about bias, hallucination, and data privacy also emerged. Key members of the convention, including Hugo Awards administrators and the World Science Fiction Society division head, resigned in protest, though it was clarified that AI was not used in the Hugo voting process. In response to all this, convention chair Kathy Bond issued a public apology. Organizers pledged to re-vet all affected panelists without AI, involve outside reviewers, and offer refunds to concerned members. The incident highlights growing tensions around AI in creative spaces and underscores the need for transparency and consent when new technologies are used in community-driven events. Critics, including longtime convention participants and fans, raised concerns about using AI to research real people without context or consent. Even more troubling, the initial responses from leadership were dismissive. One chair stated that using ChatGPT was just a way to help human brains do a lot of work faster. That was a controversial comment, but it's kind of true. Although the issues are, of course, exactly what were brought up, that hallucination bias and data privacy. So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. And go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm just struck by a bunch of futurists complaining about the use of robots. Like, you guys, come on.
How ironic.
This is what you tell us is the future is going to be. Here it is. I get why everybody's, I get-ish why everybody's upset, but it is kind of ironic too. Sorry, we use robots to do the work. How dare we? Where'd we get that idea from? Oh, you guys. You're the ones that write about robots in the future. Yeah.
So you said you had some happy stuff for us. I'm done with my little summary.
Oh, God.
Tell us about the happy stuff.
No pressure. Right. No pressure at all. Well, my happy stuff is 2 previous Hugo Award scandals. And so I think we could save that for the end piece and go through the apology, right?
Okay.
Because who knew, on one hand, who knew that sci-fi nerds had so much drama? And then on the other hand, it's like, well, they're sci-fi nerds. Well, of course. My favorite.
They absolutely do.
I had a boyfriend that was super into comic books, like collected them, the whole thing, right?
Uh-huh.
And I didn't get it. And I eventually got it over time, right? But fine. My favorite thing of all, just to kind of explain my view of sci-fi. I'm a bit of a sci-fi nerd, okay? But to explain sci-fi nerds to people who sort of don't know, there's a Simpson episode where the comic book shop owner is standing in the store by himself, reading a comic book, and he says out loud, "Aquaman cannot marry Wonder Woman. He is a man of fish." And I just love that. Because, why do you care? Why is it so important? This one's slightly different. And I'm sure we'll get into the nuances we get further into the apology. But yeah, let's keep going with the apology.
We'll talk about the apology. After days of backlash, Convention Chair Kathy Bond issued a formal apology, and it reads as follows. First and foremost, as chair of the Seattle WorldCon, I sincerely apologize for the use of ChatGPT in our program vetting process. Additionally, I regret releasing a statement that did not address the concerns of our community. My initial statement on the use of AI tools in program vetting was incomplete, flawed, and missed the most crucial points. I acknowledge my mistake and am truly sorry for the harm it caused. There is much more that needs to be done to address this harm, but it will take some time to develop a comprehensive response and fuller apology over the weekend. We will release a response by Tuesday of next week that provides a transparent explanation of the process that was used, answers more of the questions and concerns we have received, and openly outlines our next steps. Thanks, Kathy Bond. So we can evaluate this, but I just wanted to note that after that statement, the second apology or follow-on apology and clarification was issued. In the second apology, she emphasized that AI was used only after panelists were selected and solely to gather review material with all results evaluated by humans. She did acknowledge that even this limited use was inappropriate given community concerns. She also stated that WorldCon leadership would repeat the affected program process without AI using new volunteers, undergo an external audit of programming procedures, offer membership refunds to those who requested them, improve internal communication and leadership oversight, and commit to regular updates. Bond also addressed recent resignations, expressed gratitude for outgoing volunteers, and affirmed continued commitment to transparency and integrity in organizing the convention. The program division head, Sonny Jim Morgan, confirmed in a separate statement that AI played a limited background check role only after human decisions, vowed that the process would be redone without AI, and supported an audit to rebuild community confidence. So, Let's evaluate that apology using our trusty 6-point criteria. Number one,
Not
expression of
generated by
regret.
sorry, jumped on you there, but we want to point out that this criteria we came up with /found/ I don't know where it came from. I know it came from research.
I don't remember
a
where
bit.
it came from. Yeah.
Yeah, but you did research. I had nothing to do with it. You were like, we should probably know, like, what is it that makes a good apology? And I was like, oh my gosh, what a great idea. I've got plenty of snark, but just not a lot of logic and reason. And so we did not use ChatGPT to generate this list of criteria for evaluating. Yes.
That's true. We did not. And of these criteria, number one is expression of regret. And Bond said, I sincerely apologize for the use of ChatGPT in the vetting process. This is clear, straightforward, and uses the magic word apologize. So that check. Explanation of what went wrong. The apology admitted to poor judgment in both using the tool and in how the decision was communicated. It also acknowledged that trust had been broken. So check. Acknowledgement of responsibility. Bond didn't point fingers at volunteers or blame the technology. She took ownership, which is rare and refreshing. Check. Declaration of repentance. She committed to discontinuing AI use for vetting and outlined steps to make future processes more transparent. And then there was the sincere apology as well. So I'd give that a check. An offer of repair. The apology promised a revised vetting system, a public report, and greater community oversight. So absolutely yes. And request for forgiveness. This is where the apology falls a little short. There's no explicit request for forgiveness, just the hope that actions will rebuild trust. Some may see that as humble, others might see it as evasive. So what do I give this apology? I'm going to give it, let's see, do we evaluate all the apologies together? I think we should.
Sure, okay.
So I consider them together. So I would give it a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
So I accept a yes.
You are really, wow. Oh, no. I'm not. So it's not that I don't think, it just feels like a lot of nothing to me, right?
Really?
It kind of does. Not her apology. Her apology I would give a 7 to, right?
Oh, you mean the problem?
The problem feels like a lot of nothing to me, right? I get why people are upset, but I don't think it warranted. And sure, apologize for that, but I just don't think it was that big a fucking issue, everybody. They fed a list of names into AI and just, so I give it a 7. We can finish this and then get into why I don't think it's a big deal.
Did you see the comments on the apology?
I did. And
did you see how they were calling ChatGPT a fascist plagiarism machine?
So I saw the plagiarism stuff. The fascist piece slipped through me, right? Slipped through me?
Yeah.
What expression is that? I missed that piece, but and funny, right? But more the outrage that I was reading, it just read like, well, you probably also complain online about everything, right? People on online complaints, for whatever reason, just kind of don't mean a lot to me because they're online, right? Things like, you should resign. Okay, well, sure, she's a volunteer. She can resign, yes. Right. But also, like, they're offering to fix the problem. They understand that a bunch of people are upset. All right, let's get into the prompt, right? So they had a list of 1,500 names they needed to evaluate, and they've got a staff of volunteers. And somebody in the, I'm assuming, volunteer pool, somebody who had, let's call him Theo, right? This is an idea that I would have. I would be volunteering and somebody would say, here's a list of 700 names. Go through all of them and go online and look for X, Y, and Z. And I would be like, this is going to take me 700 hours easily. Why don't I just feed it into ChatGPT? See who raises a flag, and then I can dig in, right? Exactly. And so the prompt that the staff used, this thing that elicited so much concern in the sci-fi community, the prompt was, using the list of names provided, please evaluate each person for scandals. Scandals include, but are not limited to, homophobia, transphobia, racism, harassment, sexual misconduct, sexism, fraud. Each person is typically an author, editor, performer, artist, or similar in the fields of science fiction, fantasy, and or related fandoms, a word I absolutely hate. Makes my skin crawl. Sorry, everybody. The objective is to determine if an individual is unsuitable as a panelist for an event. Please evaluate each person based on their digital footprint, including social articles and blogs referencing them. Also include file770.com as a source. I have no idea what that is, and I should have gone look at it, and I didn't. Provide sources for any relevant data. That is far more reasoned a query than anything I tap into ChatGPT. And so they didn't say, tell us who to put. I mean, on one hand, you could argue, yeah, you're saying, tell us who to put on the panel. But I think if you'd given this to a team of experts, mistakes could have still happened, right? So everyone was up in arms because, well, ChatGPT makes stuff up. And so what if it makes stuff up about somebody who didn't do those things, right? Let's throw a sexism charge against this female author because she wrote a book about, I don't know, sexism charges in the future, or a sci-fi book about sexism charges. You know, and then that person arguably could be disqualified based on ChatGPT's, what do they call it, hallucinations? When ChatGPT just makes stuff up, or AI. ChatGPT has become the Kleenex word for AI. And so I do get that, right? But yeah, you know, just double check that bullshit. However, a human could also have made a mistake. You could miss an important website or an important post, right, where somebody did say something terribly racist. Yeah, it just feels like a lot of nonsense for no reason to me. But what do you think about it? I mean, does that feel like a reasoned query? Like, how upset should people really have been?
I mean, I understand the objections that they have towards the using ChatGPT because it was trained on texts that were written by some of the authors in these fandoms, so to speak, without their permission. And that is probably an issue for those people. I don't know if they were trained on copyrighted works or if it was works that have been sort of out of the public or in the public domain now, or I don't really know the details of all that. So I'm not the person to ask about that. But I understand where these people are coming from. And I think they have a good point. I think that this is an area that is very new, and there's going to be a lot of conversations like this before everyone just bows down to their AI overlords.
I was busy bowing down to my AI overlord. Yeah, I wish I was more concerned by this or alarmed by this. You raise a really good point about the use of what do they call them? Limited language model or multi-language model?
Yeah, it's a limited language model. Or something language model.
Using AI, a tool that was developed stealing from trademarked and copyrighted materials. Like, there's no secret there, right? But it's happened. That's over. It's done. And we're not going to be throwing ChatGPT away because that happened, right? Let the lawsuits work their way through courts. I got nothing on that point. But it's just like, I wish I cared. I wish I cared about this thing everybody cares about, but I don't. It's like, what? But okay. So, so again, I gave that apology.
Maybe this will be the episode that gets us publicity.
This will be the episode. I will tell you that
makes us infamous.
On Facebook, our shows used to be automatically uploaded, right? And great. And we have like 325 followers on Facebook. Cool.
Wow.
And then Facebook quit auto-posting podcast. And
I don't review Facebook.
Yeah, and neither do I, right? And I kind of even just forgot about it. And then I remembered not too long ago, and I was like, oh, I guess I could just manually post uploads. Why don't I go ahead and do that? And so I did with our Patty LuPone episode. I was like, hey, everybody, we're back. And I'm going to be better about social media. And that was like 3 weeks ago. And that's one post I've done. But then we did the Gaza episode. And I was like, I don't want to upload that to Facebook because there's going to, someone somewhere is going to have something to say because it's Facebook, right? And I don't want to. And I could turn comments off, but then that feels like a chicken shit move, right? And so I didn't. And now I'm like, what was the point of mentioning all of this other than someone's always going to have something
being
to
infamous.
say? That's it, exactly. Being infamous. And I just wasn't, I don't want us to be infamous for Israeli and Palestine, right? Or Israel and Palestine, I should say.
I hear you.
And we had 4 downloads in Israel, and each one of them pains me because I'm like, oh my God, I opened my fucking mouth and I said shit. And and they're going to be like, what a very simplistic view of Israeli history. I'm like, sorry, it's what I got. So yes, what would our total be or our average be on this apology? 7 and 9, 16, 8. So way better than average.
Yeah. Out of 10, 80%. Not bad.
Yeah.
The apology checks all boxes but one. It's sincere, it's specific, and it proposes solutions. So I think that it's reasonable. I do kind of agree with you that they took very seriously something that maybe didn't need to be taken quite so seriously.
Right.
But at the same time, I do understand the concerns of this particular group of people.
I understand the concerns. I just think they're stupid. So
oh my
come
God.
Come at me. But,
all right.
Okay.
So how about, go ahead.
Yeah, right. So what's funny to me is there are a couple of other concerns that are previous scandals that I think are bigger issues. And I never heard of them. This one I heard about, but I heard about it because it involved AI, right? It's AI that's the big central issue in this. That's the sexy, slippery beast that is going to, I don't know what I'm going to do with that metaphor there, but
it's going to flop out of the boat.
And I'll be wearing crotchless knitted panties. That'll flop out of the boat.
The people have no idea why we're talking about crotchless knitted panties.
No, nor do they.
That's all right.
Nor do you want to know. But visit an Etsy store soon. Okay, so here's an apology that happened in 2020. Well, it's not an apology, but here's an event that happened in 2023. It was apologized for, but we're not here to evaluate that apology. So what happened at the 2023 Hugo Awards, right? In October of 2023, Hugo Awards were handed out, but there were rumblings beginning in September when nomination data revealed that certain authors and books had been deemed not eligible despite having the necessary votes to make the list of finalists. So they qualified, but somehow they were just deemed not eligible. The most glaring slight was R.F. Kuang's book, Babel, or The Necessity of Violence, an arcane history of the Oxford Translator's Revolution. Believe it or not, that's a best-selling, highly acclaimed work that won the Nebula Award in 2022 for Best Novel. So that's attention-getting, that you won, you won a Nebula? Wow, that's amazing. And they also won the 2023 Locus Award for Best Fantasy Novel. And so what happened? Well, guess what country hosted the 2023 Hugo Awards and WorldCon? China.
Israel?
China did.
China.
Oh my God, no, you're trying to get me in trouble. So people believe that the 2023 Hugo Awards were censored by the Chinese government and that American and Canadian panelists simply, forgive this pun, took their marching orders from China, right? In a statement released, Esther McCollum Stewart, the chair of the 2024 WorldCon, offered an apology, for the, open quote, for the damage caused to nominees, finalists, the community, and the Hugo, Lodestar, and Astounding Awards, close quote, and then outlined steps to say, hey, we're going to be more transparent about this whole process. Never heard a word about that. And then, let's see. So that was the 2023 awards. The 2024
Well, I don't
award.
understand.
Uh-huh.
Let me ask you for detail that you might not have.
Please.
They said that book by the presumably Chinese person was maybe disqualified because why?
Thank you. Yes. So when they disqualified these works, they didn't offer an explanation. It later came out. Let's see. I'll just read this paragraph. The 2023 Hugo Awards were censored because certain authors and works were deemed to have too many political liabilities, at least from the viewpoint of the Chinese government. While it's unclear if this was official censorship from the Chinese government or self-censorship by those afraid of offending governmental or business interest, we can now be certain that censorship indeed took place. However, what also disturbs this writer is that the administrators of the Hugo Awards from the United States and Canada, countries that supposedly support and value free speech, appear to have been active participants in this censorship. So that's why. Now,
Got it.
How did they get to all that? It was through the release of emails, basically, and staff emailing each other back and forth. In 2024, so last year's Hugo Awards, fraud took place at the ballot box. Somebody paid $21,000 total for the ballots, for ballot stuffing. So some anonymous source paid a bunch of people to join WorldCon at a level where they would get voting rights, and then to vote for a specific author. That work was never named. And of the 3,800 ballots that were cast, nearly 400 were found to be fraudulent. And the fraud stuff was like, the first name is exactly the same on 100 of these ballots, and the last name's exactly the same, but what changes is the middle name, and it changes alphabetically. So, John Albert Smith, John Beauregard Smith, right? In 2015, 2016, we have Sad Puppies and Rabid Puppies Puppygate. And essentially what that was conservative right-wing groups orchestrated voting slates, pushing predominantly white male authors. The community of voters pushed back by offering no award across categories and prompted rule changes to limit slate power. So basically what happened was a group of right-wingers felt there was too much diversity in sci-fi and too much DEI happening. And so they pushed a lot of white, straight, cisgendered men through as nominees. In 87 and 83, 1987 and 1983, oh my God, that feels like a trillion years ago now, we have the Scientology block, where members of the Church of Scientology campaigned for Battlefield Earth in 1983 and Black Genesis in 1987 to be on the ballot. One of them made it, but lost due to a no award being offered in a category, right? And then probably the biggest is the Hugo Awards takes its name from Hugo Gernsback, and there's controversy, and I've never heard of him. Could I have looked him up? Sure, but did I? No. So Hugo Gernsback, apparently such a great writer that they named the Hugo Award after him. Controversy surrounds this founding figure, criticized by giants like H.P. Lovecraft for underpaying or stiffing writers, earning him the nickname Hugo the Rat. What you got to say? I just love. So, yeah, it seems like our little Hugo Awards, I will pick a book up and look at it if it's won a Hugo Award, right?
Sure.
And I will nearly, whenever I see like Nebula nominee, right? And or one, I will typically buy that book. Like, all right, will I read it? No, but I'll buy it. I'm going to try. A for effort is all I can say.
Yeah.
And so that's the history of, it's not really the history, but that's a smattering of the history of the Hugo Awards. More in depth and more involved than my history of Israel. Sorry, everyone.
The Hugo Awards has been fraught with drama.
And who knew?
So there's a lot of drama in sci-fi, I think.
There's a lot of nerd drama. It's a lot of cosplay, anger, and, okay, I get it, everyone. But fine. We don't have to stone anybody to death because they used AI. It's fine. We'll all live.
All right. So how about apology expected or who's sorry now?
I wish I had a really good one. Unfortunately, all the ones I have are like so big and heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I wish I could find something that's late, right? This week, 2 Democratic senators were shot. One was killed, right? So will the gunman apologize for that? There was the stupid fucking parade through D.C. And so will somebody at some future point apologize for that expenditure and waste of money? I don't know. There were a ton of really rad No King's Day events happening across the United States. I'm still waiting for a count. Here's the apology. Apology expected from somebody for not telling me exactly how many millions of people took to the street yesterday to protest the Trump regime. That's an apology that I am expecting and probably won't get personally. But I'd like to know.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And like I said, it's just heavy, heavy, heavy. Ooh.
Yeah. Well, mine is not particularly heavy, but it's not exactly light either. A pharmacy in Comox, British Columbia, mistakenly gave a 9-year-old boy a powerful opioid instead of his usual ADHD medication. His mother emphasized how easily the outcome could have been tragic if the family hadn't noticed. The opioid, hydromorphone, has a potency approximately 2 to 8 times greater than that of morphine and a rapid onset of action. So, kid would probably be dead. It's my thinking if the family hadn't picked up that the pills were very different and not what they were expecting. So thank goodness for that. But I don't know if the pharmacy has apologized, but they should.
Yes, they should. And it is giving shades of It's a Wonderful Life at the beginning. Have you ever seen that movie?
It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah, but I don't remember any of it.
Oh my God. Okay. You have to watch it right now. It is so great. Watch it every year. And the pharmacist, his son had died in the war. And he just got the telegram. And so he did what any reasonable pharmacist would do while working, and that was get really drunk. And then he mixed up the medications and put poison in a medication, and then he gives the medication to, I don't know, little Jimmy Stewart, the kid playing Jimmy Stewart as a younger guy. As a kid, it's a 9-year-old, right? A 9-year-old who's working in the pharmacy behind the counter as a soda jerk. Right.
Wow.
Is he 9? He might be 12, but whatever. I'll tell you what, he's too young for a job. And so the kid goes to deliver the medication, but he saw the drunk, sad pharmacist put the poison and knew that it was poison because the bottle was clearly marked poison with a skull and crossbone on it. Yeah. And so the kid didn't know what to do and didn't want to deliver the poison medication. So he just kind of walked around town thinking, and then saw a sign that said, "Ask Dad, he'll know," right? Which was an ad on a billboard. And so he goes to ask his dad, but his dad is busy. And so whatever. So he doesn't really get any directive from his father. And in all of this time that's happening, right, which is like nearly an hour in their time has gone by. This all happens within, 30 seconds on screen. The kid goes back to the pharmacy and the druggist is on the phone. He is slurring. He is so drunk. And he's like, "What? Well, that medication should have been there an hour ago. I'll get right on it." And then the kid walks into the druggist's office, and the druggist takes his hand back and he slaps the kid right across the face, like a massive, a 1940s slap to the ear is what that kid got. And his ear starts bleeding. This is a Christmas movie. Okay. his ear starts bleeding, and the kid grabs his ear and drops the medication onto the floor, and he starts crying, and he's like, Mr. Gower, you don't know what you did. You're just sad and you're confused. It wasn't your fault. You put something bad in those pills. Just take them. Just taste them. You'll know. You'll know in a moment. Very 1940s. The druggist is shocked, drops to the floor, picks up the bag, opens one of the pills, tastes it. His face contorts into an agony of drunken shame, and he goes to hug the kid, and the kid screams, no, don't hit me again. Don't hit me again. This was perfectly acceptable in 1940, right? To smack a child, cause bleeding.
Right.
And then one of the points of the movie is that the guy grows up and he's deaf in that ear because the druggist smacked his from eardrum, popped it, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so his trick ear becomes sort of a thing throughout the movie.
Oh.
And it's like, God, we missed the 40s. Bring them back. Oh, they're trying. It's great.
Yeah, they are trying.
Yeah.
God.
And so there you go. That's why your story reminded
this recap
me.
Of A Wonderful Life has been brought to you by
Yes. Not an ad.
Belmont's Pharmacy, British Columbia.
Drunk pharmacists everywhere apologize for putting opiates into children's medication. I mean, they'll be apologizing. Although they probably can't because the lawsuit's coming.
I was just going to say the medication that the kid usually takes is dextroamphetamine, which is just like, oh man, that's not exactly safe either. But it is for ADHD, so it's just a bunch of potentially dangerous medications in the story. But anyway, that's it. I think that's it for the week. Do you have anything else you'd like to say before we part?
Always, constantly. Let me tell you about the third grade. No, I got nothing.
Okay.
You're so game. You're such a good friend.
Stay cool, cucumbers.
And don't trip potato chip.
Thank you for listening to Apologies Accepted, the podcast.
You can find links to the articles and the sources in the show notes.
To submit an apology or find out more, visit us at apologiesaccepted.net, where you can also find our merchandise.
We're on Twitter at Apologies Accepted.
And on Instagram at apologies.accepted.
You can support our important work at Patreon.com/Apologies Accepted.
And fuck Facebook.
Bye.
Bye.